My life as an archaeologist unearths heartwarming secrets that forever change my dreams. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun was glaring down, and I stood, trembling, in the middle of that dusty, ancient site. My heart raced like thunder in my chest, a desperate drumbeat drowning out the whispers of the past that surrounded me. The wind howled through broken stones, carrying stories of forgotten civilizations. Each artifact I uncovered held whispers of lives once lived, each more bizarre than the last. A shard of pottery with intricate, swirling patterns seemed to dance in my hands, a relic of long-gone artisans. I could almost hear their laughter echoing through the ages, but that day, things changed. I brushed the dirt off a small, weathered locket. It felt warm against my skin. I glanced inside, expecting to see a faded photograph or a lock of hair. Instead, I found a tiny piece of parchment, scrawled with symbols I had never seen before. It radiated an unsettling energy, drawing me in. My breath hitched. What was this? Suddenly, shadows shifted, and I felt eyes upon me. My research partner, Sarah, was watching from a distance, her expression a mix of confusion and fear. Our bond was forged over years of late-night talks and shared dreams of discovery. But at that moment, the air crackled with tension. I knew she sensed it too. Secrets buried deep were on the verge of being unearthed, secrets that could unravel everything we believed. The thrill of the unknown surged through me, but a cold knot formed in my stomach. What did this locket mean for our future? A small crowd gathered, their murmurs rising like the tide. Each intrigued face held questions we had no answer to. What is it? Someone shouted, breaking the spine-chilling silence. My hands trembled as I closed the locket, the symbols burning in my mind. I felt the weight of every gaze on me, pressing down, compelling me to become the reluctant herald of a mystery that would shake our understanding of history. In that moment, I realized, this locket wasn't just an artifact. It was a gateway. A gateway to answers I was not prepared for. What lay ahead would either bind us closer or tear us apart. Questions surged in my mind like a tempest. What if the past held dark secrets? What if our dreams, fragile as glass, shattered upon being confronted with the truth? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air thickened with anticipation and uncertainty as I closed the locket, its weight a reminder of the burdens I now carried. Around me, the murmurs morphed into a cacophony of excitement and apprehension. Sarah stepped closer, her eyes wide, reflecting a myriad of emotions that mirrored my own. What did you find? She whispered, her voice barely cutting through the tension that enveloped us. That I hesitated, the gravity of my discovery pressing down on me. There are symbols inside. Ancient symbols, I managed to say, my words hanging in the air like a fragile promise. I could feel the surge of fear and curiosity pulsating in the crowd, each person clinging to the hope that we might be on the verge of something monumental. But that hope sat uneasily alongside the dread brewing in my gut. Show us. Someone yelled impulsively, their eagerness like a spark igniting the dry kindling of my anxiety. Would revealing the locket's contents bring clarity or chaos? Would it lead us deeper into the echoes of history or unravel the very threads of the dreams we'd carefully woven together? My heart ached at the thought that our shared journey might be on the brink of an abyss. As I turned the locket over, its intricate designs twinkling in the sunlight, a memory flickered in my mind. My mother's gentle voice as she spoke about the power of stories. Every artifact has a tale, dear, she would say, a shadow of the lives once lived. But what if this story contained darker echoes? What if our pursuit of truth led us over the edge? Let's take it back to the lab, Sarah suggested, her tone soothing yet decisive, grounding me as she grabbed my arm. We need to analyze those symbols. It might become clearer. Her steady demeanor provided a thread of reassurance. Together, we would face whatever lay ahead in the embrace of familiar surroundings. As we turned to lead the crowd, I couldn't shake the lingering sense that we were being watched more closely than before, as if the very past was waiting to see how we would proceed. Back in the lab, as the day stretched into evening, the overwhelming sense of possibility was tinged with dread. I set the locket on the table, surrounded by our tools and half-unfinished reports. Charts detailing our discoveries were scattered around, now mere shadows of what our passion had once been. Sarah began making notes while I stared at the locket, the parchment resting inside like a silent dare. Do you feel it, too? Sarah broke the silence, her brow furrowed in concentration. Like we're on the edge of something important. I nodded, feeling the same exhilarating yet terrifying sensation that a storm is brewing, a feeling so profound it made the room crackle with energy. As the evening wore on, the symbols remained obstinately inscrutable. Hours turned into a restless blur of scribbling theories and poring over reference books. Each passing moment seemed to drag us deeper into a labyrinth of uncertainty, and just as I began to spiral into the abyss of doubt, a soft knock interrupted our intense focus. Hey, I brought you some coffee. It was Emily, a kind-hearted intern whose relentless optimism was often a balm for our souls. Her presence swept through the room like a gentle breeze, drawing smiles from us both. You two look like you could use a break. It was incredible how small acts of kindness could illuminate the hardest days, a fleeting reminder that humanity persisted even amid chaos. Thanks, Emily, I said, grateful as the warmth spread through my hands. As we took a moment to appreciate her thoughtful gesture, my mind raced back to the locket. What if the symbols are a map? I blurted out, my excitement outweighing my previous fears. Or a warning, Sarah countered, her voice steady but laced with concern. We can't ignore the possibility that they might have been meant to keep someone from finding whatever lies beneath this site. The tension ebbed and flowed between us, genuine concern battling with exhilaration. Before I could respond, the lab door swung open, and our project head, Dr. Thompson, strode in, a grave expression marking his features. We need to talk, he said, his voice taut with urgency. Within moments, his eyes caught the locket, and a look of dawning horror crossed his face. Where did you find this? My breath caught, the sudden shift in energy felt like a fracture in glass. I could sense the weight of future consequences heavy in the air, threatening to separate everything we knew from what we were about to become. The future loomed like a dark shadow, and the chilling realization hit me, perhaps some doors were never meant to be opened. The oppressive silence that followed Dr. Thompson's entry felt like a thick fog, suffocating and unyielding. My heart raced, each beat an echo of the dread mounting within me. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, as if louder words might shatter the tenuous balance we were clinging to. Dangers have surrounded this site for generations, he said, the urgency in his voice sharpening with each syllable. The locket you found, it's part of a collection linked to a series of ancient funerary rituals. Those symbols. They're more than decorative, they tell a story of a covenant, a warning against trespass. Do you know what that covenant entails? Sarah interjected, her calm demeanor cracking just enough for fear to seep through. Dr. Thompson met her gaze with a solemn nod. It said that those who disturb the resting places tied to these symbols may unleash. He hesitated, glancing back at the locket as though it were alive, spirits that were meant to remain at peace. Those who trespass may face dire consequences. The air around us flickered with uncertainty. Emily stepped back involuntarily, her previously bright demeanor dimming as the weight of Dr. Thompson's words settled heavily in the room. Are you serious? She stammered, the question lingering like a chilling draft. A lump formed in my throat as I looked at the locket, now seeming more sinister than ever. What had felt like the dawn of discovery began to twist into a prelude of impending doom. My mind raced, recalling the glimmers of insight we'd gathered over the past weeks. What if our relentless pursuit of knowledge had led us here, to a precipice where curiosity and caution collided? Perhaps we should leave it be, I suggested, my voice trembling despite my attempts to project calm. We can't gamble with things we don't understand. My heart ached with the thought of stepping away from what felt like the culmination of our hard work, yet the risks now felt far too high. Dr. Thompson's gaze softened momentarily. He understood the difficult position we were in. But think about what we could learn. I know you all have the passion to pursue this, and it could change everything we know about this civilization. Or it could endanger us, I replied, desire wrestling against caution. The locket, it seems innocent, but what if we're writing our own doom by seeking more, please? Sarah's voice broke into the fray, cutting through my swirling doubts. We owe it to the past to at least understand what we have, even if it means facing risks. Her conviction was palpable, a steady flame amid the encroaching despair. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, the lights flickered, plunging the lab into semi-darkness. Confusion rippled through us, but the feeling of unease heightened, a sizzling undercurrent that set my nerves alight. This isn't a good sign, Emily said, her eyes wide, filled with a mixture of fear and indignation. The soft hum of machines seemed to falter, echoing the echoing worries racing through my mind. Dr. Thompson rushed over to check the circuit panel, and from the corner of my eye, I glimpsed a shadow flit past the window, a fleeting specter that could easily have been mistaken for my imagination. But my heart told me otherwise. Did anyone else see that? I whispered, shivering as the room seemed to hum with anticipation of something yet unknown. It could just be a trick of the light, Sarah spoke, but her voice was edged with discomfort. Why don't we step outside? I suggested, hoping a breath of fresh air might assuage the oppressive tension. As we gathered our things, I cast one last glance at the locket, its surface glimmering ominously, a silent harbinger of what might come next. Outside, the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and violet. The beauty felt jarring against the chaos swirling in my mind. I'm not sure we should continue, I said, almost pleading, but the moment was interrupted by the sudden sound of rustling from behind a row of trees. Did you hear that? Emily asked, her brow furrowing with concern. It's probably just an animal. Sarah suggested, but her voice lacked conviction. Before I could calm my racing heart, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall silhouette draped in an old cloak, a line of sharp, glinting eyes that sparkled with an otherworldly hue. You must leave this place, the voice resonated, steady but thick with an ancient weight. The past does not wish to be unearthed. Every layer you peel back draws you deeper into danger. A deep silence enveloped us as the figure's warning hung on the air like a final decree. Just as fear began to choke me, a glimmer of hope sparked within. Perhaps we were not alone, perhaps there existed a connection to those who had come before us, desperate to guide us back from a perilous edge. Yet the cliffhanger of uncertainty now surged like a tide, leaving us at the mercy of a revelation far greater than we could comprehend. The chill of the figure's voice lingered in the air, tightening around us like a vice. My thoughts blurred as a surge of panic rose within me. It felt surreal, a nightmare straining against the edges of reality. Who are you? I managed to say through the haze of fear. My voice quivered, betraying the incredulity churning inside. The cloaked figure stepped closer, the fading light casting shadows across a face marked by time and wisdom. I am but a guardian, they replied, the ancient lilt in their tone resonating with an eerie familiarity. Beware the locket you bear, it stirs forces you cannot fathom. Emily grabbed my arm, her grip firmer than I expected. We should go, she urged, her voice urgent yet filled with a reluctant awe. The notion of fleeing sent a thrill of defiance through me. We hadn't traveled so far only to retreat in fear. Wait, I said, surprising even myself with the strength of my voice. What did you mean about the past? Why does it not wish to be unearthed? The figure paused, their eyes glimmering with pity and warning. Each symbol holds a spirit that thrashes against the bonds of time. The locket was created as a seal, to protect these spirits from the world. By bringing it here, you have invited them to awaken. Do you not feel the weight of their despair? It was as if the world fell silent in that moment, an aching truth echoing through me. My childhood passion for history had been driven by the belief that understanding the past could illuminate the future. But now the dichotomy hit me hard. Were we uncovering bliss or agony with our excavations? Dr. Thompson stepped forward, seemingly intrigued despite the grave revelation. If these spirits are at unrest, what must we do to appease them? He asked, his voice steady, but I could sense the tremor beneath. The figure remained stoic, their expression unreadable. Your journey was predestined. To heal the past, you must confront its tragedies. Only with reverence and understanding can the spirits find peace. As they spoke, I felt myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions, my heart racing with the weight of responsibility, fear gnawing at the edges of my resolve, yet a flicker of hope ignited within me. There was a way forward, and perhaps it was one we hadn't envisioned. I won't run away, I declared, my voice rising above the creeping shadows. If these spirits need help, if we can learn from them, then we have to try. There was a moment of stillness as everyone processed my words. Emily's eyes bore into mine, a mixture of admiration and trepidation washing over her features. Sarah's look was firmer, the spark of determination flaring brighter. Dr. Thompson nodded slowly, as if weighing the risk but stirred by the passion embedded in my plea. You don't know what you're asking for, the figure warned, their voice low but unwavering. Unraveling the past demands sacrifices far greater than you comprehend. But if you seek understanding, you may reveal truths that could change your very lives. Just then, a low rumble broke through the silence, an ominous sound that reverberated through the ground beneath us. Every instinct screamed for us to flee, but adrenaline coursed through my veins with an electric rush of defiance. What do we need to do? I pressed, heat rising in my chest. The specter had piqued something deep within me, a spark shifting the narrative from resignation to daring possibility. The figure gestured towards the locket, its sheen catching the last rays of twilight. Return it to its rightful place. Perform the rites that bind the stories to the earth. Only then can the spirits reveal their burdens and perhaps their wisdom. Before I could respond, the wind picked up, swirling around us as the figure receded into the shadows, leaving nothing but the rustle of leaves and our hesitant breaths in their wake. What the hell was that? Emily whispered, clutching my arm tight. He's right, though, I murmured, adrenaline thrumming through me. We need to understand what we've done. Maybe we can right the wrongs. We're in so deep already, Sarah added. Her voice steadier than before. It's time we faced whatever consequences linger. In the shock of the moment, an unexpected warmth brushed against my heart. The support from my friends fortified the resolve that had sparked within me, our bond lighting the path forward. But even as a sense of hope began to unfurl, a gnawing fear lingered in the background, whispering caution. As we turned to leave, the shadows shifted ominously around us, the evening air turning heavy and thick. And with every step, I could feel an unsettling sensation, a presence brushing against my back, a relentless reminder that we had invoked a force far beyond us, daring us to step deeper into the unknown. Then came the sound of something shifting behind us, like a low growl wrapped in despair. My heart sank as I turned, eyes widening in horror at the sight that greeted me. Emerging from the depths of the trees was a dark figure, more imposing than the first. An unsettling glow flickered from its form, and in that moment, everything I believed about archaeology, about untangling the past, came colliding with the reality that maybe some histories are meant to stay buried. The air thickened with foreboding as the dark figure loomed closer, its outline coalescing with the trembling shadows around us. Heart hammering in my chest, I instinctively took a step back, drawing Emily and Sarah closer to me. The glow radiating from the entity was both mesmerizing and terrifying, pulsating like a heartbeat that echoed through the coldness surrounding us. It was as if the past had taken form, a reflection of the anguish we had unwittingly disturbed. Run. Emily urged, her voice breaking the spell of my paralysis. But I couldn't move. I could only stare, captivated by the shifting darkness before me. Wait! I shouted, taking a step forward. The glow intensified, illuminating the trees and the trembling leaves. It wove a tapestry of emotions through the air: grief, longing, and perhaps an insatiable desire for recognition. I felt an ache growing in my chest, a connection raw and visceral. Who are you? I called out, defiance mingling with fear. "What do you want from us?" The figure paused, the glow crystallizing into a visage. Where once I had expected a visage twisted by rage, all I saw was sorrow etched across its phantom face. "The burdens you carry." The voice was like a mournful whisper, yet it sank into me like a stone. "You seek to unearth what should remain hidden. But there are secrets here, precious and condemned. You must tread carefully." "Secrets?" Sarah echoed, her eyebrows knitting together in confusion. "History is fraught with pain. To seek understanding is noble, but to disturb the remnants of lives lived it invites chaos." The figure intoned, its breath a chilly breeze that sent shivers down my spine. "But we can help," I urged, feeling the fire of determination flicker within. "We can honor those who suffered. We want to know their stories, to give them a voice." For a moment, the figure's glow pulsed, and I felt a tremor pass through me, a bridge of empathy stretching between our worlds. "Your intentions lie in the right place, yet the transition is not so simple. There are prices to pay for understanding, for life and history intertwine like branches in a dark forest, with resilience and tragedy in abundance." "What kind of price?" I asked, unable to suppress the tremble in my voice. The figure leaned closer, an unsettling gravity drawing me in. "Sacrifices may take many forms. What you offer is not always physical. To awaken the past with reverence, you must confront your own darkness, the fears and regrets you hide even from yourselves." The weight of that statement washed over me, a tidal wave of self-reflection crashing against the walls I had carefully built. What was I afraid of? The realization struck me in full force. I was terrified of failure, of being unworthy of the legacy I sought to uncover, and of exposing the vulnerable truths of my own heart. The growl that had resonated earlier vibrated through the atmosphere again, this time a deeper sound of anguish that mirrored my own fears. "You rarely confront your truth," the figure murmured, and I felt its gaze piercing through to my very core. "You will face shadows darker than any that have become of your excavation, whatever it takes," I whispered, voice barely a breath under the weight of vulnerability. "I'll face it." That declaration, the figure's glow flickered in acknowledgement, while the growl transformed into a haunting melody, echoing memories that had long lain dormant. It was the sound of voices, many voices, layered and harmonious, full of life and loss. The depths of the forest around us began to change. The trees appeared to shift, their branches intertwining, reshaping the world we knew. A pathway opened, leading deeper into the heart of the dark woods, illuminated by the figure's radiant light. "Your journey begins anew," the figure declared. "But heed this warning, every step forward may cost you more than you envision. Once you unravel there is no turning back." My heart raced, torn between trepidation and excitement. With a heavy breath, I aligned with Emily and Sarah, holding tightly to their presence, finding strength in our togetherness as we stepped onto the path. The forest warded us, a sentinel of mysteries ahead. As we moved forward, an unsettling chill brushed the nape of my neck, a whisper echoing within. "You will regret the roads you temporarily leave behind." The ominous promise hung in the air. What newfound truths awaited us? And would I be prepared to sacrifice my own demons for the sake of understanding the spirits of those who had come before? Then suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows of the trees. My breath hitched as recognition pierced through confusion. It was someone I had never wanted to see again, my estranged father, the one figure whose absence carved the deepest sorrow into my heart. He stood before me, a specter of my past, his eyes reflecting a lifetime of regret. "Why are you here?" I asked, heart pounding, trapped between past fears and the promise of a new journey. The air crackled with tension, and with it, the realization that my quest for answers had just taken a turn I never anticipated, intertwining my path with the mysteries of my own broken family. The moment froze between us, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. My father stood as a living relic, an artifact of my childhood intertwined with resentment and longing. The radiant figure behind him flickered nervously, caught in the tangles of our shared past, a reminder of the pain that had spawned generations. "Why now?" I breathed, mouth dry as memories surged back, crashing over me like relentless waves. I did not desire this confrontation, yet it felt destined, unavoidable. After all this time, you choose to step out of the shadows, his voice faltered, laden with a vulnerability that surprised me, threading itself through years of silence. I didn't know how to come back. I thought it was for the best. To abandon me. The heat of my anger mingled with a burgeoning sorrow, tinged with confusion. Why now? In the face of the unknown, here he was, a specter of decisions that had shaped me in ways I struggled to acknowledge. You don't understand, he pleaded, taking a hesitant step forward. I left to protect you, to protect us from my failures. My heart recoiled. Protection? Was that what it had been? A flimsy excuse for leaving the hollowness of my life unaddressed for all these years? I could feel Emily's touch, grounding me, reminding me that we had ventured here to explore the remnants of a world long concealed, now merging uncomfortably with my own. That I want to know what you mean. My voice came out softer, yet edged with urgency, desperate for answers. What failures? You standing here changes nothing about the abandonment. The glow surrounding the figure pulsed again, holding our attention while the dance of shadows moved around us, the air thickening in anticipation. My father's eyes mirrored the light's ethereal sorrow, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a flicker of the remorse I had long denied. Your mom always used to tell stories about our family, the history that was buried, he began, his tone trembling like the gust of wind weaving through the branches above us. You wanted to unearth it, didn't you? That's why you're here. I nodded slowly, the fatigue I felt over decades crashing into my determination to find closure. Yet I was also painfully aware of the burdens I had chosen to carry, the fears I had tucked away. And now, confronting him felt like a reckoning I had not anticipated. The past is filled with more than just pain, he continued, voice muffled but earnest. It holds the key to understanding, to breaking cycles. I chose to run from it, but I see now, it only distanced me further from the truth. Our truth, but why now? My heart pounded in my chest, waiting for the revelation that could either break us or bind our fates together anew. Something shifted, something that compelled me to return. I didn't come empty-handed, he said, pulling something from his coated old, weather-worn journal. Its edges were frayed, pages yellowed with time, each one stitched together with secrets begging to be unraveled. This belonged to my mother. It contains stories of our family, of the pain and the love we turned away from. Of the sacrifices that have haunted us all. His words hung in the cold air, enticing and grotesque, both an olive branch and a challenge. Could I truly embrace this part of my story? The echoes of generations felt loud in that moment, but each whisper invited me closer. Take it, he urged, an earnestness lighting his features. But be warned that it will not give you solace without unveiling the truth. Are you prepared for the burdens it brings? For understanding can sometimes feel heavier than the weight of ignorance. My resolve wavered, shadows closing in as I considered his offer. This journal was a portal. It could expose truths I'd long buried within myself, delving into fears that lay beneath the surface, perhaps entwined with my father's own. Unraveling this thread of history could be both illuminating and devastating. As I stretched out my hand toward the journal, a distant rumble echoed from within the forest, a primordial sound that set my heart racing. Something was awakening beneath the surface. Something beyond our personal hauntings. My eyes darted toward the radiant figure, whose expression was grave, warning me that the past was more alive than ever. Alice's voice rang out from behind me, startling me from my thoughts. What is happening? Why is the forest reacting? Sarah shifted nervously at Emily's side, confusion and fear mirroring on their faces. We shouldn't be here, she murmured. This is more than we bargained for. No, I insisted, my heart pounding against a mix of trepidation and excitement. This is exactly what we need. We must face it together. As my fingers locked around the journal, the atmosphere pulsated with electric energy, and the figure's glow brightened, swirling around us like a tempest of emotions. Fissures of light split the dark canopy, sending flickering rays of illumination through the thick brush, cascading an otherworldly beauty that felt ominous yet inviting. Prepare yourselves, the glow warned, the urgency palpable. The awakening is upon you, but not just the past. Your truths will rise as well. What you discover may reveal not only the fate of those before you but the very essence of who you are. Even as I gripped the journal tightly, the foreboding words resonated like a drumbeat, demanding my attention, echoing the truth I had long resisted. Would I be ready for the stories it held, the secrets buried deep within my own heart? Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath us, and then, like a deluge, the memories surged a kaleidoscope of light and shadows, visions of love and pain crashing together. The journal slipped from my fingers in that fleeting moment, spiraling away, unleashing the maelstrom that threatened to consume everything. No. I screamed, lunging forward, but as my hands reached out, the darkness enveloped me, pulling me deeper into a whirlpool of familial anguish and hope. Just as quickly, I felt the warmth of Emila's hand on my wrist, and Sarah's reassuring presence pushing against the surge, anchoring me in place, but as I stared down into the chaos unfurling before me, fractured voices emerged, sorrowful, haunting melodies, blurring the lines between past and present, heartache and healing. Each whisper beckoned me closer to the truth, closer to my own reckoning that I had taken a step forward, but at what cost? The journey of unraveling was just beginning, and the very essence of my life teetered on the edge of revelation, a descent into shadows I had never anticipated, one that would ultimately define who I was meant to become. The chaos surged, swallowing me whole, as a cacophony of voices reverberated through the thick fog of memories. It felt like diving into the depths of an ocean where I had long buried my fears, the darkness pulling at me with frantic eagerness. I strained against the currents, hoping to grasp the tendrils of light that flickered at the edges of this maelstrom. Hold on. Emila's voice broke past the clamor, laced with determination. We're in this together. Her grip tightened around my wrist, a tether that dared to hold me steady even as everything turned confounding. The memory of laughter pierced through the tumult, followed by the heaviness of loss, the echoes of family gatherings and the tremors of argument unspooling in flashes. The overwhelming waves of emotion twisted and turned as I glimpsed moments that should have offered solace but instead felt like a plea for answers. I saw flickers of my mother, vibrant and alive, spinning about in a blurred silhouette, her laughter a lullaby that battled the sound of betrayal and hurt. I saw my father enshrined in shadows, regret etched into his furrowed brow, standing beside my mother, their love an intricate dance, now marred by decisions made in fear. What do you want from me? I shouted into the whirlwind, desperation clawing at my throat. The resonating voices fell silent momentarily, and I felt a shift, as if the world held its breath alongside me. Understanding, the voices whispered in unison, like a breeze rustling through an ancient grove. Your understanding breeds reconciliation, healing, hope. Hesitance curled in my chest, tightening like a vice. I was not ready for this journey, not for the intoxicating, bittersweet sense of love and loss intertwining on the winds of my memories. Yet, the journal laid somewhere within reach of this whirlpool, pulsating with warmth and vulnerability. It felt like an open door, enticing yet terrifying. As I pressed deeper into the chaos, strands of light began to emerge, illuminating the faces of lost relatives I had never known and moments I had longed to uncover. There was an unseen thread binding their stories, stitching together the stole from our pasts. Blood ties that had been woven in sorrow and joy reached for me, beckoning me to take responsibility for understanding who I was, who we were. Emila's voice surged through the tides again, warm and fierce, echoing my unyielding spirit. You're not alone, ever. Whatever they want you to uncover, they'll be right here, together, came Sarah's soft affirmation, grounding against the fray. For a fleeting second, I let the surge of love fill me, like a buoy that steadies the ship in tumultuous waters, amplifying my strength to face the depths. They were right, I had not been alone in this journey, and their faith invigorated me. With renewed fervor, I began to summon the courage to wade deeper into this sea of sorrow. Show me. I cried out over the rising tide, demanding the chaos yield its secrets, to spread their truths like seeds into the soil of my heart. Show me the stories you chose to hide. Suddenly, the camera of my mind snapped into place, focusing sharply on a single moment that lit up the dark. A clear image emerged, a gathering of hands around a table, laughter suspended mid-flight, faces wreathed in comfort. My father, with his mother at his side, sharing tales of the past with a warmth that felt raw and delicate, a side of him I had never seen but longed to understand. A hand reached out toward me from the tableau, extending not as a ghost but a bridge to generational wisdom I had scarcely dared to acknowledge. I felt the pull, almost magnetic, drawing me closer, the heartbeat of my ancestry echoing in harmony with my own. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I grasped that hand, that connection to the thread that had woven my existence. "Please, more," I whispered, willing the memories to come forth, each to share parts of their existence that danced on the precipice of my mind, and then it was like a thunderclap. The ground shook violently beneath us, a sudden phenomenon alighting the cluster of unsettling energy. "We need to get out," Sarah yelled, panic slicing through the world around us. That moment of confusion and chaos, the apparition of my father flickered before me, his expression twisted with love and pain. "You're stronger than your fears. Don't shy away. You are meant for this. Run." Emily screamed, pulling me back toward her as the very fabric of time seemed to unravel, threads of the past vibrating fervently against the present. Before I could comprehend what was happening, shadows surged towards me, a torrent of uncertainty born of hidden truths, and I felt my heartbeat synchronize with the impending storm. Together, we were losing ground, the connection slipping as the echoes proffered secrets surged like a flood that threatened to overwhelm. But just as I turned to follow my friends out through the tempest, a revelation struck me, sharp and heavy. A story that had been buried too long, waiting like a dormant seed, desperate to take root. If the whispers of the past were rising to meet me, whatever lay ahead would build upon the foundation of my legacy and conviction, and in that soft, pulsating heartbeat of realization, I dared to whisper my next question into the unfolding chaos, hoping it would not shatter the walls around us. What if facing these truths could set us free? As the darkness pressed closer, I felt the answer stir inside me, the walls closing in with a promise of enlightenment that felt like a fire ignited in the depths of my soul. Would we prevail against the onslaught of revelations? But before I could process the rush of emotions, shadows erupted, engulfing my vision as the world shifted dramatically, leaving us teetering on the brink of a revelation that could forever reshape our fates. The shadows twisted around us, undulating like a storm surge, and plunged into the depths of my fear. Heart racing, I could hardly breathe as I was torn between fleeing and standing my ground. The chaotic energy coursing through the atmosphere felt alive, thrumming against my skin, as if the chamber itself was aware of our plight. "Keep moving," Emily shouted, her eyes wide, and though her voice was steady, an echo of uncertainty flickered beneath her bravado. I could see her fighting through her own turmoil, the strain evident in the set of her jaw as she held her ground against the turbulence. Just as I prepared to follow her through the fading path, a familiar face confronted me, materializing from the darkness. A younger version of my father, clad in the carefree clothes of his youth, his eyes filled with mischief and warmth. He beckoned, a soft smile appearing. Yet amid that smile, shadows lurked, drawing deeply from wells of sorrow. "Dad," I gasped, feeling my heart ache with the weight of hope and desperation. "What do you want me to know?" I wondered if understanding his story could unlock my own mystery. That I was lost in my own chaos once. His voice resonated, tender and sorrowful. "You faced the same tempest. But within its fury is the truth that could heal generations." He gestured to the swirling chaos. "You have a choice. Don't run from it." With every ounce of intuition urging me to push further, I grasped the moment, desperately wanting to connect. "Show me. Please, let me see what you faced." The shadows around us flickered, coalescing into images, revealing fragmented pieces of history that turned my stomach inside out. My father, looking lost and alone, hunched in a quiet corner of a distant past, burdened by unspoken regret and an overwhelming longing for acceptance. I moved with him, experiencing the chilling winds of fear that tempts to silence those truths buried deep within. In another scene, he stood outside an old house, our house. I felt the pull of his dreams stifled beneath the weight of expectation and tradition. "Every hollow decision haunts," he muttered, eyes downcast as if to avoid the memories he wished never existed. "I wanted to protect you from my choices." The truth hit like a wave, crashing over me, stirring a pulse of empathy I hadn't anticipated, and, within that, an unexpected stinging revelation: my father's struggles were intricately woven into my own. The patterns repeated: fear, silence, misunderstandings. Where once it had felt like chains binding us, I now saw threads of a resilient tapestry, a connection to something greater than myself. "Can we change it?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Can we mend what has been broken?" His youthful image flickered, uncertainty racing across his features. "It's not enough to understand," he warned softly. "You must confront the shadows head-on. Truths hide in the depths, waiting for us to release them. Only then can we forgive not only each other but ourselves." The chaotic energy around us swelled, demanding my attention as the shadows began to ripple violently. Sarah grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the faint glimmer of luminosity I could barely make out our path forward. "We can't get stuck here," she cried, her voice slicing through the confusion. I felt the urgency in her grip, and for a moment, I hesitated, torn between the past and the way forward. Suddenly, an unexpected brightness erupted from the depth of the darkness, illuminating a doorway that had formed amidst the chaos, a threshold lined with memories waiting for release. Across the threshold, an outline of my mother emerged, her form unraveling from the shadows, intertwined with warmth and sorrow. "Mom," I whispered, disbelief washing over me. She reached toward us, arms open wide, beckoning me closer. Emotion gripped my throat, I wanted so desperately to step into her embrace. Every part of me ached to bridge that gap of understanding, but doubt clawed at the edges of my mind. Was this real, or another illusion, merely a shadow dancing before me? "Find the truth," she whispered, her voice sustained by currents of hope, then fading like morning mist. "You're stronger than you realize." Feeling my heart swell, I finally took a staggering step into the unknown. The doorway pulsed with a heartbeat of its own. But in that moment, I was struck by an overwhelming realization. To seek her truth might mean confronting secrets I wasn't ready to face. A sudden, deafening crack split the air, the shadows surged violently, and the world around us trembled. As I staggered back, grappling with the intensity of it all, Emily and Sarah closed ranks beside me. In that fragile moment, we each took a breath, steeling ourselves for what lay ahead, but just as I felt a hand grasp mine, my father's hand pulling me back into the swirling chaos, a shuddering thought invaded my mind. What if unraveling these narratives could unearth feelings I wasn't prepared to confront? The laughter I remembered could hide shadows darker than I ever imagined. Might this journey expose not only our family's dark secrets but also truths about myself I had long buried? Before I could voice my fear, the shadows burst forth, engulfing us in a maelstrom of possibilities, leaving us teetering on the brink of transformation. In that storm, the truth was both a gift and a curse, and inescapably tied to hearts that had loved and lost. I felt the weight of generations before me merge into one, waiting for me to decide if I was strong enough to step into their light. The sensation of swirling energy intensified, and every instinct screamed at me to retreat, to pull away from the edges of revelation that pressed against my psyche. I was no longer just feeling the tumult of the shadow's grip, it wrapped around me like a cloak, persuasive and heavy. I closed my eyes briefly, allowing the memories of laughter and warmth to flood my mind, the echoes of family meals, the smell of my mother's cooking, my father's light-hearted jokes as he joke-danced while washing up. I clung to those moments like a lifeline. "Stay close," Emily urged, her voice trembling but resolute, as the shadows pulsed violently, a symphony of despair and secret histories merging into a cacophony around us. I nodded, though my heart drummed with uncertainty. I had stepped through the doorway, and somehow I must endure what lay ahead, not just for myself but for the bond one longed to mend. Steeling myself, I glanced at my father's youthful visage, his features haunted yet hopeful. I took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of his hand against mine. "What now?" I implored, my voice barely above a whisper as I felt the chaos tighten around us, waiting for direction. "You must unearth what lies beneath the surface," he replied, the shadows reflecting in his wistful gaze. "What you uncover will not only reveal the past but may redefine who you are today." With those words, I felt a tingling sensation spread through me, a sense of destiny intertwined with trepidation. I glanced at Emily and Sarah. Their eyes met mine, a silent understanding exchanging amongst us. This challenge was ours, entwined not only in personal healing but in the connection binding us through shared burdens and dreams. As if in response to my resolve, the shadows began to shimmer, pulling us toward a different scene, an echo from long ago. Suddenly, we were standing on the porch of my childhood home. I could almost feel the warmth of the summer sun and the distant sound of laughter merging with the wind. An image appeared. My mother, radiant and full of life, stood barefoot in the grass, her hair flowing as she played hide and seek with me. "Mom!" I gasped, the ache of nostalgia swirling around me like the scent of blooming flowers. But even as I reveled in the beauty of the moment, I felt a gnawing confusion settle in my stomach. Something was lurking behind the Laftera shadow I couldn't quite grasp. From the depths of this precious memory, another scene flickered to life. I watched as the laughter began to fade, replaced by solemnity and tension. My mother's face became marred with worry, and I could feel the weight of things unsaid pressing heavily in the air around her. "Don't," I whispered, wanting to protect her from the burdens that haunted her. But it was too late, the shadows seemed intent on revealing the entire truth. I didn't want to witness another facet of our lives that shattered the illusions I so desperately clung to, yet, the scenes continued to play, each revealing the cracks in our family's facade. Arguments with my father grew louder, punctuated by harsh silences afterward, moments where warmth had once enveloped our home. What happened? I breathed, a heavy sadness pooling in my chest. What could destroy the love we had? Emily squeezed my arm, her eyes brimming with empathy. "Sometimes love isn't enough," she murmured softly, her own voice tinged with echoing fear of the unknown. "What if the truth is more complicated?" Before I could respond, my father's voice slashed through the chaos. "Stop running," he pleaded, his youthful form more insistent now. The shadows shifted, swirling with renewed urgency. "You can't heal what you refuse to see," and just like that, the scene shifted again, the shadows dispersing to reveal another moment, even darker this time. I could see a frail-looking version of my mother sitting cross-legged on the floor, a bottle in her trembling hands, tears streaming down her cheeks. My heart sank into the pit of my stomach as recognition washed over me. "Mom, no," I whispered, grief piercing through my heart like a knife. I wanted to reach out to her, to pull her away from her own pain. How had I been so blind to the suffering she bore? Suddenly, a hand gripped my shoulder. I turned sharply to find Sarah, her eyes filled with warmth and understanding, though shadowed with sadness. "You're not alone," she whispered. "You can break the cycle. We can break it together." Just then, the atmosphere shifted again, violently slamming me back into the present, the visions flickering like an unstable projection. Fears and regrets twisted around my mind, but I felt my father's hand steadying mine, a tether to the warmth of possibility. However, before I could anchor myself to this newfound hope, a blinding light erupted from the chaos, blinding me. I shut my eyes and let out a gasp of disbelief, forcing the memories to meld with the present. As I slowly opened my eyes, my breath hitched in my throat. Emily and Sarah had disappeared, the shadows turning feral and jagged. "No. Not like this!" I shouted, newly gripped with fear, sensing I was being left alone to confront the depths of my own unraveling story. And then, as the light began to illuminate a new path ahead, I noticed a silhouette growing clearer, a figure standing in the distance, watching silently. In a haze of confusion and desperation, I recognized the form. It was my mother, looking both fragile and strong, her posture radiating a deep-seated resilience. "Find me," she whispered, her voice piercing through the shadows. "Only then can we rewrite our ending." Just as that weighty realization settled in, a pull deep within me to follow, I felt the encroaching darkness lurch, threatening to swallow me whole. And just like that, I was left standing on the precipice of discovery, heart racing, uncertain if I had enough strength to leap into the unknown and pursue the truth that could forever change my dreams. The ethereal glow of my mother's visage blazed brighter, illuminating the path toward her as my heart pounded in my chest. "Find me," she had whispered, echoing like a mantra that pierced through the swirling chaos that still threatened to engulf me. Here I stood, at the intersection of past and present, the weight of generations pressing on my shoulders. Could I truly face the truths buried within the fabric of my own history? I took a shaky step forward, my resolve hardening like tempered steel against the chill of uncertainty. The shadows trembled around me, whispering secrets from lives unlived, from choices unmade, begging for acknowledgement. With each step toward my mother, the tendrils of fear intertwined with something unexpected. "Hope that I am coming," I breathed, my voice fierce and resolute, as I crossed the threshold into the blinding light that surrounded her figure, a portal bridging our fractured pasts. The chaos around me quieted to a hush, as if the world itself held its breath, waiting to witness what would unfold next. Suddenly I was enveloped in warmth, a cocoon of palpable love that wrapped around me, dissolving the chill that had seeped into my bones. And then, she was there fully present, standing before me, her eyes shimmering with profound understanding. "You've grown," she remarked, a smile breaking across her face, illuminating the path we must tread together. "But there are shadows you still carry." As I gazed at her, the ghostly specter of my childhood fears drifted to the edges of my mind. The echoes of our once lively household drifted in with the scent of fresh tea, laughter, and childhood joy, but they were tainted by a dull ache of estrangement that had grown over the years. I could see it, memories playing like a film reel, moments of brilliance, interwoven with tints of sorrow. Each one glowed with lessons waiting to be unearthed. "That I thought I'd lost you," I choked out, the emotion crashing over me like a tidal wave. "I thought I could never understand why you chose to carry your pain alone." I trembled with how close the truth lay to me, the fears now not about judgment but about understanding and dissolving the barriers that held us both hostage. Her gaze softened, and she stepped closer, a radiant warmth flooding the space between us. "You didn't lose me, my love. Parts of me still reside in you. And now it's time for you to release both our burdens and stand as whoever you choose to be." I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes, the dam of unacknowledged pain finally shattering. The journey I had long undertaken through digging into the past now culminated in this moment of intimate truth. "But how?" I whispered, feeling raw as tendrils of self-doubt curled around my heart, squeezing tighter. In response, she reached out, resting her hand against my chest. "You must forgive not just me, or your father, but most importantly, yourself. You've inherited shadows that do not belong to you. Let the light of understanding guide you to release what you do not own." A sharp intake of breath, and suddenly memories flashed of love mingled with hurt, moments of tenderness steeped in silence. The realization sunk in, I wasn't merely a victim of circumstances, I was a vessel of generations, the stories of our family stitched together by resilience and, yes, flaws. "I could be both." "Forgiveness," I echoed, the word feeling heavier, yet lighter in my mouth as I clung to the significance it held. Each syllable resonated through the air as if the universe itself acknowledged its power. But that power swirled with a sense of dread. Was I truly ready to forgive? "Yes," she coached gently, as the glow around her flickered with a warmth of affirmation. "Face the shadows, let them speak." And there it was, the truth I had been blind to. I envisioned opening the journal my father had offered, revealing the insights it held, the fragments of our story waiting to be acknowledged. Memories of him not just as a ghost, but as a flawed man who carried his own scars, the shared heritage that spoke of sacrifice and love strained through the veil of pain. As I stood before her, embodying every ounce of resolve, I made a choice, a declaration in the face of uncertainties that had long haunted my family. "I forgive you. I forgive Dad. And I forgive myself for all the weight I've carried all these years." Just as the warmth of my voice settled in the air, I felt an overwhelming wave wash over me, a release, as if a floodgate had opened and poured forth warmth into my soul. A surge of light exploded in every direction, casting away the shadows that had once conspired to silence me, to bind me with their chains of fear, and then I heard it, soft like a whispering wind, a chorus of laughter radiating from the past. It was the laughter of my childhood, the playful mischief I had tucked away just as surely as I had buried the off-key notes of family arguments. Laughter swirling amongst the grieving of the lives never lived and stories left untold. "Now you will learn, you've not only inherited pain but strength. Your paths are yours to tread anew," my mother continued, smiling as the glow brightened, illuminating the shadows that once whispered despair. "Let them heal," she urged, and I felt as though a great weight had been lifted from my shoulders. The shadows of generations slipped away, replaced with a golden hue of understanding and mischief. The clarity enveloped me, and with it came a sense of peace stronger than anything I had felt before. "Together," I murmured, as Sarah and Emily suddenly materialized beside me, their presence solid and warm, reminding me that I was never alone. They stood as pillars of support, witnesses to the transformative journey I had begun. They mirrored my own resolution, reflecting the hearts that had guided me along this path. That I will stand for all of us, I said, feeling the swell of passion rise within me. Encounter with the past, present, and whatever may come next, solidifying the belief I held in my heart that as the shadows began to recede and merge into the light cast by my mother's radiant figure, I looked at her. "Thank you for showing me. We will honor your story," I promised, knowing the journey had changed as we stepped forward into a new era, my family's history not a burden but a blessing. In that moment, the world around us shivered with promise, and I understood, the past might indeed shape us, but it does not have to bind us. Embracing each layer of truth, the love, the lessons, the shadows created a rich tapestry of resilience that pulsated with hope, emerging into the light, a living testament to the love forged between fractures. As we stepped further into the light, hand in hand, a whisper of wind curled around us, and I felt an invigorating warmth rise. The past would never fade, it would forever weave through my life, but now, it shimmered with the light of understanding, shifting the weight of ancient burdens into a tapestry of connection and love. Together, as I inhaled love and forgiveness, I realized we were stepping into a future alive with possibility, anchored by the strength shared through the embrace of familia. Family redefined, limitless before us, shimmering with the remembrance of lives fully lived and the sacrifices honorably made. As the shadows fell away for good, I found my voice and my identity, one that could finally breathe and resonate with the truth. No longer shall we walk in silence, and with that, we stepped forward into the light, forever changed.